Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel again. I'm sorry that it's been a while since I uploaded the last video on my channel, but I hope that I can be able to upload some more videos soon, at least with these videos about game analysis in the Olympiad, and then speedrun as well. I've been pretty busy with events, but I think I will have some more time from now until the World PM Bliss in December. So I hope that, during this time I can try to be more active, or at least show you guys some more content. So I'm GM Lee, and welcome to my channel. As you know, so I was busy with Olympiad in Budapest, Hungary earlier, but I had a wonderful tournament. For me, it was a once of a lifetime memory, and I did something that I could not even think about in my wildest dream. As you can see here, so I got 9 out of 11 after 11 rounds. I beat some strong players like Sinarov, Batel, Tari, Machine, and have some very nice matches. Apparently, I know it has been a while, since this match happens, but I think it should still be quite good for me to make some recaps of some, I think, important games and some interesting matches, because not just about the moves, but also about what happened during these games, and moreover what happened inside the playing hall. I think you will be interested in knowing these stories. Also, I also really want to let you guys know about what I think and what I really experience. So first of all, I win 33 points and make myself, climbing 107 spots in the FIDE rating list. And thank you guys for all the supports. Without you guys' supports and nice words, I don't think I can be able to do this incredible stuff. So once again, thank you everybody for all the nice things. Okay, so we'll start right away here. So the first game I want to start with is game 2 against this guy. Okay, here, Manon Rejanir from Bangladesh. This is round 2, and in round 1 our team met somewhat like a weak team, I think from Liechtenstein, where I don't even think that they have plenty of chess events, So it was a fairly easy matchup for us. In round 2, we met Team Bangladesh. They featured, I'm pretty sure, one strong IM in board 1, and the guy Manon Rejanir, who was, I think, a young talent, who was born, I think, in 2010, and then 2 experienced GM in last 2 boards. So this was our first real challenge, and I think this would be exciting to show you what happened in this match. Somehow I am a player who will find myself warm up more and more during the event happen. Like in the first few rounds I will not play very well, but then maybe in round 4 or 5 or 6 I will start perform better as well too. Okay, so let's go to the game here, and obviously I think there are plenty to share, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you like it, you can give me like subscribe button, or just give me some questions or something that you can interact with me as well, right? Thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so let's go. So here it is. In the game, he played e4. I play c5, f3, e6. I didn't really play the Sicilian for a while, but lately I'm trying to play some more things, or at least make myself some kind of players who play more stuff. So d4, you play the main line, cd4, knight d4, knight f6, knight c3, and knight c6. Obviously you can play here like this last one too, like d6, but I went for a more aggressive approach, d6. So by playing this, I try to challenge his son right away. Also, I prevent e5 from him. The main line here indeed is knight c6, takes e5, knight e5, knight e4, and here black can play maybe like queen c7, bishop e7, or c5, and both will lead to some very complicated battle. In the game, my opponent went for somewhat a rarer option. He played bishop f4. It is a pretty rare option right here. Sometimes, with the best play of black, it can lead to a very complex game. Bishop b4 is 1, knight b5, knight e4 is 1, I think so. We have 3, d5, c7, kf8, knight d4, and this thing can become crazy. Actually, no, I think this is the way, e5 first, e5 first. Bishop d2, I think so, and knight d4, and then both of these are available, but it is incredibly complex and not so easy to play in reality. There are some games featured by some top GMs in this line, but I don't know, I don't really want to get into this. So in the game, I play some different. c5, trying to challenge the knight on d4. The text here, it is not that dangerous anymore because you can just take here as 6, play here, and now the knight bishop here is hanging, you know, so knight e4 is impossible. In fact, it loses right away. I mean, it doesn't lose the game for him right away, but I think I can win a pawn, and I will have like very good chances to get a game. In the game, so he played knight b5 here. As you can see, I am still within my preparation, and I still can play pretty fast chess as well. And here, the main line is bishop c7, queen e7, this, and I takes, and the queen d8, which lead to a theoretical game. But then my opponent, he played some, I think here at this point, he decided to think for a long time. I think for around like, see here, 30 minutes. Well, in opening, as early as move 8, so thinking for 30 minutes is kind of a long thought, considering that it is still some pretty well-known territory. I guess that my opponent didn't really want to get me into something I know, so he played a super rare move, bishop e2 as well. So this one is a very rare thing. I must say for sure that there are only 17 games of this line that is featured on the database, so I was clearly not prepared for this. Only when I got home that I knew the best way to play black here is d5. When black finished right away, takes 7 and d4. But this thing is not that easy to play if you don't know the line, you know. Sacrifice the whole exchange. But the thing here is that the knight is not very well placed, and somehow like it's having wonderful experience, a wonderful like compensation for the material. And once again, it's not an easy thing to play. You don't know the line, right? So in the game, then before that, sadly, I play a6. Here I also start thinking, and I clearly don't know the line. g7, queen e7, bishop here, takes, here, and knight e8. So takes. Okay, so let's start with this. So here during the game, I thought I was completely okay because I have no real weakness. I guess my main drawback here is that my bishop on c8 is quite passive, right? And has no real good potential for a time being. But rather than that, I can think about like d5 here. So his bishop here looks pretty useless, and he cannot really exert pressure on my pieces. But overall, due to my bad bishop, I think it is slightly, like very slightly better for white. But I should be fine here as well, because I was before. So here I think I went for quite some thought, and I was very unsure about what best way to play at this point. I mean here, so first I want to tell you guys about what white really want to do. He just want to play queen d2, d1, and then queen d6. Bishop on c8 here, if you can see that, it can only have the idea to go to b5, bishop b7, right? When a pawn d7 can become wicked. So that's why here the plan of white is quite simple. But for black, I have plenty of plan. That's why it's not so easy here to find the best one. to play at this point. The engine claimed the best way to play here is b5, queen d2, bishop b7, and rook d1, and I must find something pretty surprising, rook a b8, you know, surprising a pawn. Like here it could be 4 with some good compensation. But once again, you know, in a position that you are considering like it is equal, it is not so easy to find the pawn sacrifice, right? So it's not easy as well. In the game, I went for a different plan. I thought like it is good here to tie up the rook to defend the pawn on b2, and then think about push on d5 here can be a better choice, but I don't even know. b4, okay, b1, b5. Here I am not so sure about what to play. In the game, I think about rook d8 at the first plan, at the first moment, but I realized that I can just play a3. I need to retreat, and now this simple plan is very annoying. I will show you a sample line: b5, d1, b7, and then queen to d6 here can be a thing. When on the engine claim I'm fine, somehow I don't want to just get so passive in this file. Also, queen e3, queen b6 can potentially become another annoying thing as well. In the game of the b5, looks like a natural move, but I must admit that I don't really know what to do. d2, and here I also spent a long time to play queen d4. Pretty queens. This kind of thing, I guess it is a clear sign that I don't know what to do yet. Obviously, I want to beat my lower opponent, but I'm not so sure what to do. I guess the main thing is that I am not so ready yet, and in the second game, maybe I'm still playing pretty poorly, I guess. The engine claimed that rook d8 give me some easy play, b1 and here, but then like a3 once again, I don't know. Like here for instance, I don't like it. You know, a3 can be a thing, a4 sometimes can be a thing, and I don't have d5, so I don't enjoy my position that much. So I don't know. In the game, like trades, d1, takes, and here after the queen trade, I guess I should tell you about the evaluation right here and about what happens in the match, also in other boards. So first of all, in this position, I understand right away that I'm worse. Somehow now white's plan is simple. d1. Also at some point, if you play something like king f8, you can play like f4 and then e5, you know. And this idea is super annoying. Once bishop here can go f3 as well too. When bishop suddenly doesn't have many good potential as well. Also, d1 can be a thing to restrict pieces. I guess the main problem here for me is that I have no really good active plan, and I don't have any real ways to attack. In the game, I went for a7 because I want to go to 7 here, defend a pawn, and bishop to b7. Before keep it up with my game, I want to tell you guys about the match between Vietnam and Bangladesh. So in round 2, I think it is the initial second board, Krongsan, who stepped out for a rest. The first board, namely walk in, and he was white against an iron from Bangladesh. I was black against this young talent from Bangladesh who was like 14 years old. My friend, my compatriot, another GM, he met an experienced GM with white pieces in bot 3, and then the national champion of my country, who was only 15-year-old, but already an IM 2400 bot 4. So at this point, I think it should be nearly around 2 hours of the time. Bot 4 is already a draw. So I was pretty fine, you know. Namely, like my teammate in first board, he is having an edge. I was confident he can make it to the win. Bot 3 is quite close. In my operation here, I must admit that I am still dreaming about winning, because obviously I want to beat someone lower than me, right? And obviously a win can help me to boost my morale. But my play in these few moves, I must say, are super questionable. A4, a nice move, throw some weaknesses. B4 and 91. This move is nice. And my opponent here, he found a nice flank. 91 but not 92. 92 is useless because like this pawn here is not really a weakness and I can defend the pawn easily as well too. But this is much better because he is looking for a strong maneuver. Knight e3 and knight c4, knight e6. Here the engine already claimed a edge for white, and they also claim the most clear-cut way to play for equality is d5. But play here, this pawn will easily become a weakness, right? And I don't like that. Maybe it is available, but this one give me maybe a draw at best, which is definitely not what I'm looking for. So I knew here that I'm not better, but I still want to win. Kind of stubborn, right? But yeah, it's how it is. So 95. This is when I really struggle to find a plan. King f8, some slow thing here is easily refuted. Because here, knight c4. Let's imagine if it's something here, for instance, e5. Let's imagine like here, see, right? And now it is white who gain a serious positional edge. So in the game, I want to prevent him from jumping to c4. Also, I want to get my rook in open file, but this is certainly a wrong play. 95. 93. King f8. Rook d1. You can see, right? My opponent play feels fairly simple, but for me, it's not so easy here to find something constructive, and as a result, I went down time. King e7 in the game. b6. Put pressure on my pieces. b3. Trying to trick this weak pawn. Plus pawn on c2, which is fair, right? So in the game here, he play c3. This pawn here can move a weakness. In the game here, I find, I think, quite an interesting maneuver. Knight b7, can b7. With this move, I want to play knight c5, where it can put pressure on these two pawns simultaneously. For instance, if I play like here, I would take and play knight c5. When these pawns are unweakened, right? Maybe it is not enough for equality, but I'm quite sure I need to play precisely in order to hold his edge. Here, for instance, rook 8 here, you know, and his pawn here is weakened. A1, for instance, is a draw right away, right? And now the pawn here drops, and this is easily equal for me as well. In the game, suddenly he found the best move. d4, precise. That's okay. Wait a second. It is not what I want to do. Here, c5 in the game. c4, precise as well too. d7, d6, f8. Here, suddenly rook d8, allow rook c4, and I got into a highly annoying pin, which is not even easy to get out. So in the game, play rook f8, which I think is better choice. c4 and then king d8. I got the rook covered, and with that, at least I'm making him still looking for the win. But here, in fact, I understood in my heart that I was worse at this point. Here, white is better, I don't know. Here, maybe he can play like rook d4 or f4 or some other things, but he play in the game e5, which I think is somewhat hasty. f6, put pressure right away. f4, a5. So the key things here is that he doesn't have knight b5 because I have this move right away, you know, which allow me to equalize instantly. Apparently I cannot play this because it's on knight d4, b7, and now there comes a simple but cute tactic, group c5, and here and then here, and I can safely resign due to this fork, isn't it? So here, this is already tough for me, but in the game, I found this move here, which I think can help me equalize this position. My opponent realized that, So he played rook d2 here, and it is quite annoying. He defended bishop, preventing this idea by me. If you play here right now, you can play this, and I will just be down material for nothing at all. In the game here, I did think about some ideas like, let's say, takes, and here, but at the end I decided to get rid of it because he played here, takes, and bishop e2, and then he can defend it easily, and I'm down material for nothing at all. b7 in the game, I went for the trade. I almost ran out of my time to fight this move. Luckily for me, it made the game become quite complicated. b7 in the game, the b5 takes, and a c5. You take your first and a c5. This suddenly turns out to be equal. My opponent misplayed a little bit, but due to time scramble, things can be understood. So now this pawn under attack. In the game, play knight d4. If I play knight a4 right now, stay here, right? Which is what we know before. So in the game, king c7, get away from the pin. Some sense, right? Knight b3. Here, so due to being so much downtime, I didn't find the best defense here at this point. Here, best defense is knight b3. It's one. Here, f5. Take the pawn on e5. And with this move here and here, although I'm down a pawn, but it's not that easy for him to really activate his pieces, and I have ample compensation for the pawn missing, but I'm down on time. So in the game, f4 was played pretty quickly, which suddenly is a huge mistake. Knight a5, simply the pawn, king b6. Once again, it is what I miss. I should play rook e4 maybe, or knight a4, undown pawn maybe, but at least I can still fight. King here. So here I just think about knight b3 will lose the bishop, but he had a C move here that I completely forgot. g3 exclamation mark. Rook e4, and he played a nice idea, b4. So this point I just realized to my horror that knight a4 is terrible because the bishop b3, rook e5, losing to a 4, right? And now I was waiting. I was like, this is lost. This is purely lost, you know? e1 checks, and I make a mere check. Luckily, here, due to time scramble, he also made a mistake. At this point, here 2 will give him a huge edge. Here, bishop d3 should take here, and now he's a pawn up with great chances. This is a threat. These pawns are strong. Also, he can think about here as well too, and I'm in huge trouble. Win the game. It's move 39. So you have 2, which f1, which is a mistake. Knight e4. You have 2, and rook c1. Okay, let's stop here. So at this point, we both get some more time on the clock. By some more time, I mean 30 minutes. But the main thing here is that at this point, there are already some results in both 1 and both 3 of the match. My compatriot both win with white in both 1 and both 3. So at this point, I felt pretty relieved. Like, even if I couldn't win, or even if I lose, my team still wins, right? So now I play with much pressure, but my opponent, maybe he was young or inexperienced, or he won't beat me so much. Here he started to some pressure and he didn't play well at this point. In the game, c4, b1 to the pawn, c5. Okay, so here I started also playing quite quickly, but this one is a real mistake. Play king a7. But I guess this move is the move here that fully managed to trick him, you know. King c7 is best way engine recommends. In the game, I see b5. b5. And I realized right away I cannot play this because rook c2, you know. And now king here, knight c4 is just losing on the spot because I will lose a piece very, very soon. And this is here also allow the same, right? With the same idea. So c5 here, I should play king c7, but c5 I should play rook c1. When here, I somehow miraculously escaped, you know. But obviously in the game, I didn't see the thing. So I play king to a7. But this thing is quite tricky. And my opponent here, he spent all his time to find a way to beat me. But it's not so simple, to be honest. This pawn is being attacked, right? Rook d4, simply gonna knight c3. And there are some real counterplay, which is not that easy to deal with. Also, b5 now just take here is good for me because rook c2 now allows knight to e4, and I also get out of trouble. So here my opponent think for a long time. See, right? c6, but he thought the best move. c6 exclamation mark. Not the best move. Somehow, so his plan is that if you play like here to the pawn right away, he can play rook to d8. And surprisingly, my bishop here is in big trouble. Bishop b7 is losing on the spot. And knight b6 here is also very passive, you know. Actually, can play rook g8. Sorry for the mouse slip. And these pawns are under pressure. Rook b4 is losing as well. So this is hard for me to play. When the game, I realized it was down in time. So play quickly as well too. Knight b6. Knight b6. Here, the best way to play is bishop e2, which I must be honest that I don't understand the idea of the move. Okay, I'm sorry that my cam frozen. Okay, one moment. Hopefully doesn't affect the sound and you guys can still enjoy the video. And I hope that it doesn't froze for so long. In the game, so b5, defend the pawn, king b8. At this point, my opponent, he just took a long breath and he didn't find a way to win anymore. The engine still claimed a huge edge for white after rook c2. Knight d5. But for me, I don't know. I don't think it's easy for sure. For instance, bishop g2 here can allow knight to, b5 for instance, right? If you play bishop to c4 for instance, I have knight b4, and things are still quite tricky in my opinion. Like, I don't know. He must play this one in order to retain an edge. So sometimes it still requires some forcing moves, and for me, it's not so simple as well. In the game, he played c4, which obviously is a huge blunder. By playing this, and he looked at me with a sad eyes. I understood that he wanted to go for a draw. Because here, if I play like here for instance, like takes, and rook c1, I think a draw is something I can try to pursue, I believe. But my opponent just simply missed idea by me. f1, checks. And now the tables is turned. Because kf1 c4, and he doesn't have time for this move because I need to check, isn't it? And my opponent is clearly pissed off, and he was looking very, very sad here at this point. In fact, my conversion here is not and is nowhere near good, but my opponent, I think he lost the spirit here, and his play at this point just feel like he is waiting for the death to come. Okay, so let's go to the end game. So f2, pawn first, f8, activate his pieces, the pawn here, and play g6. Because if I play like rook here, I can play like h5, you know, and this pawn can be covered. Rook g8, best move. h5, this one is wrong. The engine claimed I can play king c7. Here d5 when my king can get active, and I have some chances to go for the win. Although I believe with the best play it should be a draw, I don't think I can play precisely at this point. So in the game, I play h5. I stubbornly want to keep the pawn here alive. I don't want him to play here, you know. So I play h5, keep the pawn alive, but that is a huge mistake. I will put it here as well too one moment. Here, h5. So king e2, e7, king e3. And here I made a mistake. Sadly, I play knight g4 very quickly, I think in like a second. But this one is a total mistake. Right away after I made this move, I realized I can play king d4. King d4. And the pawn here will become extremely dangerous. This can get active, and his threats are now looking so damn annoying. Like, I reread them right away. In the game, luckily, so after playing h4, I managed to fight defense here with knight f2. But need to defend, you know. And it's not even fun here to do things, isn't it? So it is terrible, right? But in the game here, as I mentioned earlier, my opponent here lost own spirits. King f4 here allowed e5 when I'm winning, I guess. And king e4 is even worse. So here, he decided to go back home, king d2. And that obviously is a huge chance goes begging, isn't it? And in the game, knight h2, click here, the pawn, and now I am close to be winning, I guess. Because rook a6 here allow knight f1, and then he will not be able to recapture back the pawn easily. So in the game, we played king e3, g4 checks, king a4, and king g5. Now e5 is next, and at this point I was confident that I could go for the win. And the dominant in the game showed that. g5, push the pawn, g8, e6 here to the rook on g8, check here, king c5, and just get the king in the square. You can go back here or go here as well too in the same time. Can take the pawn, and my pawn is now pushed e4, e3. I'll calculate to this point, I think on precisely. d1, knight f2. e2 to e1 will be a huge mistake. So I play the move knight f2 first. Because rook e1 allow my king to go to e1 to d4, right? And my king now can get to the game. Because play here and here, king f4 is instant loss, right? This I think is losing frame already. So in the game, e1 he play, knight e3, which once again I think is very precise. I prevent his king from getting back to f4, and e2 is next. So king f6 here, h3, e2, and g4, and here king g5 and e2. He resign. Best way to play here is just take the pawn on e2, right? And I take e2, and then I can slowly try to convert bishop and knight checkmate, which in my level should not be so hard, isn't it? So first game I won. Not an easy win, right? I was lucky to win here as well too. And in my country, we have a term like, if you are lucky to survive earlier, you will be lucky the whole tournament. And that obviously is luck. I mean, it's correct and precise for me in this event, right? I got lucky the whole tournament, and it's how it is. And with my win, my team just beat team. Okay, here, show here. Okay, so here, okay. So my team just beat team Bangladesh 3.5 and 1.5. Okay, that's it. So obviously I will return with you guys later on, talk about some other games. I guess maybe we'll talk about the game with Sinarov and some others. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you can understand me well. You can feel free to have questions right here as well. Thank you for coming, and see you later. Peace.